if you're not using AI, you're going to die. Like, and even in the most simplest forms, you don't have to use ChatGPT every day, but if you're not working at the pace that automation is setting for the industry, you're not going to meet your clients' demands and you're not going to be able to keep up. There will be a day that comes that the last person who wants to sign a contract on paper is no longer in existence. And if you can't even do DocuSign or whatever, dot loop or Panda Docs, whatever you want to do, like, sorry, newsflash, you got to wake up and do something about it if you want to be around. And I don't think that that day is far off.
Welcome to Unfiltered, the official podcast of propertymanagement.com. I'm your host, Dylan Scroggins, founding partner of propertymanagement.com, with my fellow host, Matt Spear, who is the founder and president, CEO, all things propertymanagement.com. We are joined today with Property Management Texas Royalty. Everything's bigger in Texas, especially the accomplishments of their property management leaders. So we are happy to be joined by Lacy Hendricks, Director of Marketing of Hendricks Property Management, COO of ClearLead Digital, which we'll talk about more in a second, the President of NARPM San Antonio this year, the 2024 Property Manager of the Year, and also, best for last, the first verified property manager in San Antonio for propertymanagement.com. So Lacy, thanks so much for joining us. We are so excited about having you. And we just spent about 5 minutes doing your intro. So well done on that.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've got my juices are flowing right now, Dylan. That
I
was
know.
a great intro all around. Really excited to dig in.
I know. And we'll probably find a few more accomplishments while we talk and learn more. So, Lacy, we brag that we want to be the most authentic podcast in property management. And we feel like our main audience are folks like you who are building property management companies and they want the good stuff. So we're going to learn a lot more about you and your growth and what you've been able to accomplish in your many different endeavors, but also want to talk about your insight and what you're excited about moving forward in property management. So once again, so excited to have you, and just want to start, I got a 4-year-old son and he's trying to be an astronaut and a fireman, not a property manager. No one really grows up with that on their whiteboard. But there's a lot of people who've made some really cool careers and innovation in this space. So we'd love to hear from you. Where does your property management story start? And just walk us quickly through just how you got into this space.
So I was living in Austin and I worked for Facebook, and my husband was a sound engineer, and his mother and father had started this brokerage here in San Antonio way back in the late 70s. And Kyle had exhausted the corporate ladder of topping out salary for a traveling sound engineer and working overnights, every night for 3 months straight. And he get like 3 weeks off. I had a pretty sweet gig at Facebook. You turn your computer off. That's it. Like, had my own life after hours. It was great. But rents kept going up. He was done. And his dad called and said, if you don't come take over this company, I'm going to sell it. And since there wasn't a whole lot more growth left for me at Facebook, and he was done with his, we were like, okay, let's do it. Why not? What else are we going to do? We were 31 at the time, I think, something like that.
How many doors were in the portfolio at that time?
At that time, there were actually 725 doors. Right now, we're at 400, but some of it was on purpose and some of it was COVID. But now that we're here at 400 doors, we've lost employees and not had to replace them. We've canceled managements that we don't want to do. And we've been really focused on improving operations before we push to grow again. And so that's actually where we're at right now, is we're starting to do a lot of outbound sales so that we don't turn ourselves to death.
Yeah, outbound sales. I already love to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely going to touch
I'll
on that.
hesitate to dig on it. We'll get in that in a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I feel like that's a continual theme, right? Even at Southern States, a few months ago, everybody was talking about it's not all about door count. It's more
Yeah.
about health, right? So yeah, it seems like there's plenty of 2,500 door count folks that wish they were 1,000. So
So were you scared completely shitless when you decided to quit Facebook and jump in? Like,
yeah,
what was that first day like?
that's a great job right there.
So that was an absolute trip. So I like went from working, now it was like 2011, 2012, I think. And I'm like working in the future where like there's there's all kinds of snacks and drinks and they feed you and do your laundry and provide you a gym and like all this stuff. And there's like, I don't know, 200 people on my floor. And there's three floors of just Facebook. So like huge corporate office. It was super fun. I really loved the team that I worked on. And then I came to San Antonio, and it's the second largest, was the first city I've ever lived in of this size. I lived outside of Houston growing up. So, like, it was ish in the biggest city in Texas. But, just going from Austin to San Antonio was kind of a culture shock anyway. But then coming into this office and working for a family business, like, everyone had 13-inch monitors and they were operating on Windows 98 and there were filing cabinets everywhere. And I was just like, I had just gotten licensed. I had never done a sale. I didn't know anything about anything. And I was upside down. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know where I was supposed to fit in or how or why. At one point, my father-in-law was like, maybe you should go to Keller Williams and get some training. I was like, "Yeah, probably."
You're like,
Never happened.
and you're like coming from Facebook. And yeah, so, well, I feel like a lot of people see the opportunity just with technology being able to impact an industry like property management. At least I did. I mean, I came from a venture backed tech company right out of school, and I was like real estate investing on the side. And I just like was blown away. I just expected, being like a 22, 23-year-old, that like a property management company, they just have everything together and like, they know what they were doing. But I just kept getting blown away with how behind the times, real estate investors and property managers were. So at some point you kind of had to shift where you're like, okay, I see some opportunity here.
hmm It really is like a vacuum of technology. Like, and the major players today are pushing it forward very quickly, but they're building their own software essentially, or like layering on top of other software. But yeah, when I came in, they were operating little teeny tiny monitors. They thought I was insane for wanting a double monitor. And it was just like, okay, we're operating on server based software. It's 2014. So I mean, software as a service was a real thing at that time. Obviously, it's grown exponentially since then. But, you know, as of today, we have one filing cabinet that's in a closet that holds like tax stuff that we can't get rid of. Everybody has double monitors. Nobody's running Windows 98, thank goodness. So it's been a big shift here, and my husband and I have taken over the operations as of January of 23. We knew it was coming. We just didn't expect it to happen when it did. And it was a unfortunate event that caused it. We were kind of scrambling for a little while, but then we said, if we don't do something, we're just going to die. And so that's when we onboarded with Lead Simple and really started focusing on process because we wanted to sell a product that we were proud of and that we knew would service our clients and our tenants better than what we had done in the past because it holds you accountable and nothing gets skipped because it's built in.
That's awesome. And tell us more, like Matt mentioned, I also come from a tech background. We're 10 years in PE and VC backed companies. And, there's a lot of things that software does wrong. There's a lot of things that software does right that we really take for granted now in this economy. So, even that 10-year window from like filing cabinet, I know you've already mentioned Lead Simple, but what are some other specific tools? This is not a sponsored podcast. We're just here to educate. But what are some other tools that are just non-negotiables for you? But also, how are you staying up to date? I mean, obviously, we mentioned the NARPM influence, which we love. But what are some other things that you're doing to not only like keep up, but try to stay ahead of maybe competitors and just also just naturally wanting to be up to date with technologies and themes?
So I've been focused on automating as many processes as possible. And I'm not talking about just Lead Simple, but integrating DocuSign and email and, whatever, jot forms, whatever I can. So Zapier is probably the top of my list. Can make me pull my hair out some days, but once you get it fine tuned, the stuff that you can do with it is really cool. And when I first started doing it, my employees were like, I don't understand what is the point of this? And so I automated the lease renewals process, which lease renewals, they would spend once a month, they'd sit down and for like a week, they'd work on lease renewals. And I automated that process for them and they were like, that's when it like clicked for them that it truly made a difference in their day-to-day operations of what their workday looked like because they weren't having to deal with lease renewals in the same way anymore. They still run the CMA, they still reach out to the owner, but they don't have to spend the time figuring out, pulling from the software, who's going to do what. It's set it and forget it, and it all just goes. And the amendment to extend is automated through DocuSign and Zapier. So
So
once they hit the button, it just goes.
tell us how that works, like for people that are like fired up right now and like, okay, I want to do that. How? Because I've seen that happen too. For us, it went like super rapid fire. It went from the similar approach to, all right, we have a remote team member handling it. So now we were saving money because like our in-house, like our office manager wasn't doing it. And like cost wise, that made sense. And then we started to do some automation too. But I'm curious how you did that like specifically.
So we already had the process built out in Lead Simple for the property managers to process them. But then after we got all of our core processes built out and running smoothly, that's when I went back in to set up the automations because I wanted to make sure that our processes were working the way that they were supposed to before I started messing with them and tweaking them. So, I opened DocuSign and mapped the fields with custom fields and then put all those custom fields into the workflow in Lead Simple. So like, what's the new rental rate? And then I use Zapier to connect Lead Simple to that custom field in the DocuSign. And so now as they go through the workflow, they're filling out like how many tenants are there? Do they need a walkthrough? Are they being renewed? Are they being renewed month to month? And so with DocuSign, you have to create a template for every different scenario. And the more advanced I've gotten with Zapier, I don't have to do that anymore. But
Yeah.
initially, that's the only way I could figure out how to make it work, right? So it worked. It works still. So I'm not going to touch it. I just have better ways to do it now. So I built out a template for every different scenario. And as they're filling this out, we do have a remote team member that reviews all of them before they get sent because I want to make sure that it's all merged correctly, like everything's correct according to what the property manager has submitted and that no blanks are on the page that aren't supposed to be there. So we have a review step and when my RTM clicks the complete task button in Lead Simple, that's what triggers the Zap. The Zap merges the data together, and then it sends it to him via DocuSign for him to review. He doesn't sign anything. He just clicks off, yes, it's been reviewed, and then it automatically goes to the tenant for signature, and then goes back to the broker for signature.
Does everyone have to work at, do people have to work at Facebook to be able to do what you just described, or can anyone out there do that?
No. I taught myself. It is a complicated software, but with the help of Chat GPT, I mentioned that there's actually a GPT that's a Zapier automation specialist that I've been working with, and they have some AI tools built in that are kind of helpful when you hit a bump in the road that you weren't expecting. But yeah, it's one of the things you just have to put the time in to tinker with until you can get it to do what you want it to do. So when I first started it, I would do super simple stuff. Like I got an email from the RTM And when I get an email from him, I want it to go do mark a task complete or something like that. So just simple things. Or if I receive this, send an email on my behalf. That was where I started.
Yeah, really
And
simple,
yeah, really, really simple. And
but
so the one I
powerful.
just,
Yeah, still powerful.
yeah, but starting with the baby ones is how you understand the function of how it works, right? So the last one that I did was getting our PMA automated for new owner clients. And that one comes with, an infinite number of scenarios also, right? You have your HOA, your lead, how many owners are there? How many people are signing? How many properties are they onboarding? These are all variables. And so rather than having to make a million templates or like paths, I still had to build out the templates, but it was much, much easier this time because one, I knew what I was doing this time, but I had the naming conventions set up in a much more structured way. And basically I input all of the possible scenarios into a table and assigned like that template to that specific or that specific cell so that when Zapier finds that cell name or the file name, it matches it to that template. So I'm not having to go in and make a million different paths out of the Zap. It just goes in and finds the one specific code that it needs and outputs it that way.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like, a lot of times in property management, it's all reactive, right? It's stuff breaking and then you go fix it, whether literally or figuratively. So you like taking the time to really go heads down and figure that out. Super impressive. And obviously, we mentioned before, like heavily involved with NARPRM. Know you're a Crane member. I mean, we've met
So
through,
I
what's that?
love I love Wolf and Peter, but I'm not a Crane member.
Oh,
I can't
we'll
I
edit
can't
that
claim
out.
that without actually
Yeah,
being a Crane member.
right. Shout out Crane. But
And
the main thing is
Crane's
that
just getting shout outs even when they don't deserve them. Like,
yeah,
Dylan,
yeah,
let's go.
that's my bad. So,
Yeah,
but the
that was
point I'm
not paid
making is
placement
that,
too, Dylan.
yeah, not a
We
paid
do not have
placement.
currently ads going here. So
Yeah. So you're doing a lot of professional development. You obviously care about leveling up, continue to advance in this space. Even what you're sharing right now, some people are like, maybe I could do that, but I could never get my team to do that. So walk us through just the leadership component of actually, I don't want to say pushing down, but the reality is like you and your husband are leading the company from an
Right.
operation, sales, marketing, everything. So how do you buy into that? How do you get the team to buy into this adoption where it actually makes their life easier and they're excited about it and don't feel like this is just another tech thing that Lacy wants to do to make things easier?
And then that's a hurdle for anytime you change a system, a software, a solution, whatever you're doing. But this one, we had tried before Lead Simple came out, there was a local company here that had offered, actually, I think they came out about the same time. They offered a very similar product, but it was really clunky and it was all done within SharePoint. And it just, the intention was good. It just wasn't developed enough yet. And then Lead Simple came along and kind of blew that dead in the water. But in that one, they never bought into. And so when we brought on Lead Simple, we said, okay, we know this is going to be a learning curve for you guys. We're going to be patient. This is the way we're moving forward. This is to help you. This is your tool. We want you to use it, interact with it, provide feedback so that we know how to fix it to make it work best for you. We are providing this for you. And if you don't work with us to make it work for you, it's not going to work the best it can. So, the next few months are going to be a little bit bumpy, but you'll be happy at the other end. And it took, a good 6 months to get everything worked out. And after all the major processes had been launched, but now not every day because I don't see them every day, but I hear them say very, very frequently that they're glad we brought on Lead Simple. But if you would have asked them that like 3 months into it, they would have been like, "This is stupid."
yeah, it's like a one step back, two steps
Yeah,
forward type of.
yeah.
It's like they hate it while there's change, then they love it once it makes their life easier. All right, I've got a little hot take here. I'm gonna throw it out. Dylan's like, "Oh no, Matt's got a hot take." So I've heard some murmurs out there, just talking to a lot of property managers where like tools like Replit, like Lovable, like the whole
Mm-hmm.
vibe coding. I mean, I've got a couple of projects on this. My wife's tired of hearing about my vibe coding, by the way. But I've heard a couple of people specifically talk about like, two really good companies, Lead Simple, Property Meld. But those are the types of targets that they're like, wait a second, I don't need a SaaS tool, a software tool that like serves everyone. Like I need a maintenance management or like a workflow management tool for my company. And so people are starting to go, well, wait a second, could I build my own version of a Lead Simple using a tool like Replit, where I'm not trying to sell it to like a bunch of other property managers, it's just like build something for our business. Have you started? Have you tinkered at all with any of these
I
tools? Like,
have.
what's your take on some of those trends that might be firing up?
I think it's really cool. It takes up a lot of my time that I probably shouldn't be spending on it. I've used it for creating like lead generation tools on our website. My mom is an author and I manage her website too. So I built a review aggregator that pulls from Amazon, Goodreads, and Bub Books, which I had never heard of, but it's like big in her world. So it's I had to get API access to Amazon so that she wouldn't get kicked off the platform,
Yeah.
but we did it. And once I got the API access, I was able to aggregate the reviews from Amazon, because Amazon, they don't have like for authors, they don't have just this author is all of their sales together. They have a 5-star review. For some reason, they don't do that. They do it per book, and their books are sold like they don't have like a library really. It's like it's an individual product. I'm all like, yeah, I get it, but like they're all by this one author. Why can't you just aggregate the reviews at the top?
Well, and that's a great, don't mean to cut you off, but that's a great example of kind of what I'm talking about with property managers, where it's like they're building this thing for everyone, the masses, right? And so then certain people are going to have their perspectives where like, well, wait a second, I wish this thing did this a little differently or more unique to me. Like a
Mhm.
company like Amazon's not going to change everything they do just for the specific individual author and use
Right.
case. And so it sounds like you had that magic aha moment of like, holy shit, I just connected an API to this application and it works. Like I've had
Yeah.
those
It's
moments and I'm like,
crazy.
mind blown.
Yeah, it's super cool. And my mom was like, how did you do this? I was like, don't worry.
Well, so if you're, I mean, keeping it on the tracks, like with the people that are listening to this, because it's like property management, like, do you think, do you think there'll be any paramount shifts with, SaaS and, how small businesses like property managers use tools like, any of the, there's tons of the business. I'm not going to like highlight just Lead Simple and Property Meld, but like, do you see there being big changes in the industry, or is it going to be more of a flash in the pan?
I don't see a lot of change happening immediately, except for from companies that have people in seats that can do this kind of work. So, like Wolfgang has developed his own plugin for Appfolio. That's
Yeah.
amazing. But your regular broker is not going to be able to do that right now. I think as the average age of the broker goes, or rather the other way, as people that have been born into the world of technology get older and become more established in their professional roles, they will probably be more inclined to use tools like Replit and Lovable. But I don't see many brokers right now spending the time to try to figure it out.
Dylan, what do you think about like you're in the recruiting world with Kalmar Group? What about a role of like AI manager, senior vibe
Vibe
coder?
coder.
Like, could that drive real ROI? I'm getting like in the weeds here, but
No, I mean, I
so many
think
people are just
it's,
talking about this topic.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
it
think,
could.
yeah, I mean, it could be someone who does, kind of like what I do with recruiting. We're working with a lot of different people at once. So it's not like one of the big players hires a vibe coder. Maybe they could, but someone who does it for like 5 to 15 at a time. And Lacy, for every hot take that Matt has, I kind of have like a medium, kind of more simmer take.
We should hit a
You
bell
know,
every time I have a hot take. Maybe that's
yeah,
just my ego. I'd get
yeah.
if you did that. Actually, there'd be more hot takes. Bad
I
idea.
got a little like quarter jar for my son for him to buy Hot Wheels. I'll start adding an extra nickel
I
for
love that.
every hot taste. I mean, I look at it as for the larger, let's think like, you know, let's say $5,000 plus, I feel like they're thinking about it. But I think also like the very, very lean, like sub 500. So kind of on both extremes. But then kind of in the middle there, I think it takes someone like a Wolfgang, someone who's just like technology inclined, who really likes it and enjoys it. I just don't see it being the norm and making a big dent in the B2B SaaS folks anytime soon. But then again, I could be wrong. But I think as of right now, it takes someone either technology savvy, like very, or just energized by it like you, and or it's, yeah, you're right, Matt. Maybe there is a place for someone to float around and help these folks set that up. But yeah, it'll be
I mean,
interesting
there's
to
all
see.
kinds of consultants you can hire now to build out your processes and pipelines. And they all use the automation tools that we're talking about. I don't know if they're getting into software development by any means, but it is kind of a unique role. I mean, they call me the director of marketing here, but I really am the one that does like all of our technology stuff. And I'm like, is that really my title as director of marketing? I mean, it all came back to that, but
Yeah, director of
really I'm more
everything.
like the technology officer. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna say director of everything. We might add that to the show notes.
Except people, except
Yeah,
people.
yeah, that's the best job in the world. Don't
That's
demand
way less.
anybody.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah, y'all hiring? Awesome. Well, hey, we're gonna start landing the plane here. So I'm gonna ask one big question here, and then we're gonna go into some lightning round. So Matt mentioned the phrase earlier, aha moment. I feel like you've already referenced some, but what's an aha moment that you've had that you think others should have by the end of 2025?
Oh man, that's a good one. You know, I don't want to bark like I don't want to talk about AI anymore. I'm so tired of AI. But like seriously, if you're not using AI, you're going to die. Like, and even in the most simplest forms, you don't have to use ChatGPT every day. But if you're not working at the pace that automation is setting for the industry, you're not going to meet your clients' demands and you're not going to be able to keep up. There will be a day that comes that the last person who wants to sign a contract on paper is no longer in existence. And if you can't even do DocuSign or whatever, dot loop or Panda Docs, whatever you want to do, like new, sorry, newsflash, you got to wake up and do something about it if you want to be around. And I don't think that that day is far off. Our owners did get kind of upset when we bumped our fees up a little bit because we were bringing in so much more technology in house. We didn't have anybody cancel over it, but our portfolio, they are a bit older because our main source of organic leads was older. So, you know, that's like like a quarter of our portfolio, but we had maybe 5 people complain and then nobody actually canceled when we had to implement that fee.
All right, we're gonna shift to the lightning round and try to answer this as much as you can off the cuff. So, all right, cool. So, right now, what is your favorite tool or app for your business, and preferably not a PM app, something that maybe PM companies are not thinking or not getting blown up by a BDR to buy?
My favorite tool right now is called SEO Space, and it's a plugin for Squarespace websites, which is where I built our website. It has all the functionality that a WordPress site has, but it's more for the design type mind. So you can get heavy and hard in the coding if you want to. There are lots of plugins you can use on it, but basically the the SEO Space plugin is a tool to audit your website and make sure that you're implementing best practices for crawlers to be able to read your website. And even if you don't know anything about SEO, you know, it walks you through all the steps of how to implement the changes that it says you need to make. And when I first started managing our website, I wasn't doing a whole lot with it. There's a lot of reason behind that, but then when I got the freedom to toy and play around with it, I installed the plugin and dove first into SEO and ended up in a semester long course, and that tool single-handedly took our website from like zero traffic to where we're the loudest in the marketplace, highest ranking in the marketplace for across as many keywords as one can measure. We it just made it very easy to implement and to see I mean, I know exactly which page on our website and which button on our website is our highest lead converting, and not just lead converting, but actually closed. Like our funnel gets a lot of traffic. Our website funnel gets a lot of traffic, but I can tell you which button is like the most highest converting. And I don't use any paid ads. This is all organic. There's no reason to pay for Google ads. I'm not trying to be the big dog. Like, we're not a national brand. I'm not trying to scale PMI size. That's not who we are. So organic's where it's at for this small local business, and that's what SEO space is about. And it's just been an incremental tool for helping me learn how to keep our website up top.
And real quick, Dylan, I won't get into like context I know about how you got into like SEO and some of these things. Like, I think a lot of people might be hearing this and be like, all right, Lacy's probably studied this since she was in high school and it's been this long thing that like she's just this expert on, right? And it's like inherent to you. The reality is like so many companies that are listening right now, they're spending 1,000 plus a month on SEO. And that's it's almost like the tax on not knowing what you're doing. Right,
Mhm.
because like, I just looked at that
Absolutely.
site, I hadn't heard of it, I pulled it up, looks awesome, and I think their highest paid, like, or pricing package is, like, $30 a month.
So
So,
that's
like
for an individual website, it's like $30 a month, and you get all the SEO tools you'll need. It's got keyword research, it's got local, like, map tracking, it's got everything you need. It only works for Squarespace sites, but and there are other tools out there that you can use on WordPress sites. But I have the agency plan because I manage several websites, and it's only $99 a month.
yeah, that's crazy. Well, it's I feel like you mentioned AI earlier, like, people are gonna die, their business will die if they don't use AI. I don't even think that's, like, an aggressive, hyperbolic take. I think that's really, truly real because 'cause we're in this era where information is so accessible now. Like, oh, if you don't know how to do something, don't be the person that says, "Hey, how do you do that?" Like, type it in ChatGPT first. Like, understand some of these things. You don't have to be like the expert and take action on it, but like, even if you're working with an SEO agency that is charging you $1,000 a month, at least understand what they're doing. Take a little
Right.
course. You'd learn that tonight. Like,
Yeah.
it's not this thing that you have to spend years and years studying to understand. So I think it's just really cool hearing that perspective. And also maybe an opportunity, Dylan, for the call out. Lacey's like got this cool SEO business she's
Oh
starting.
yeah, I've
So
got a note. I've got a note. ClearLead
tee that
Digital.
baby up.
We're gonna
Let's
put in
go.
the show notes. We'll see it at the end. All right, so two more of the lightning round. Man, I
Okay.
like the tangents. This is perfect. Booker podcast. Every PM leader should download or read this week.
So I've really been digging Jen Rulin's Hold It with PM Jen. There's not a whole lot of female podcasters out there, and she puts herself out there and is raw and real and gets down in the trenches every day on her job sites. And, you know, it, I really enjoy her sense of humor and where she takes it. And I love to see a female taking up that space that's very male dominated when our actual field is probably female dominated, if I had to guess.
Sounds like we need to get her on the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. Go check that out. And then, what is one word that you would use to describe the future of PM?
I didn't think about this one. Not optimistic. That's not the word I'm looking for. Thinking more along the lines of full of opportunity.
Opportunistic.
Um,
That might not be
but
right either.
that's like taking
Abundance.
advantage.
Abundance.
Abundant. There we go. That
Yeah,
sounds
I
good.
didn't need to, answer for you, but yeah, the word that I'm thinking when after even hearing this is just what you're saying about automation. It's not just about AI as a like that's not the end. Like the purpose is not just to use AI, just to say you use it. Like it's all about like automation, what you're talking about, like employee experience, client experience, just your own personal headspace. Like there's a reason you should use this, not just to use it. Some really cool stuff here. And as we wrap up, I know Matt just gave a little assist here, but I was planning to ask you already. It seems like you're doing some exciting things alongside Hendricks PM. So quickly tell us, just ClearLead Digital. Tell us more.
So
What's it
yeah.
about? Who are you doing it with? Just what is it?
So it's clearly digital. It's officially launching on Monday. Our website's up now if you want to go, but we're going to go live with it on the 4th. And Alex Whiteoff and I started it together. We so I never had anybody else manage my website, but he did. And we were serving on the governmental affairs committee together. And we were chatting about issues or something, and then we both started. It was at the same time that I was like going through my the SEO course that I took, and he was trying to learn as much as he could at that time too. And we would spend like 2 hours every Friday afternoon, like tips and tricks and like working on each other's content and like trying to help each other just get out of the weeds because, my website had been established for a long time. And there are so many great property managers in San Antonio that just even getting to rank with them, I had to like do all the back work. I had to like dig myself out of the hole that I was in before I could like go up at all. So, and he was kind of in the same place and we kind of came through that together. And then there were just things that kept happening over and over and over, like indicators that like there's this huge energy that we needed to move forward. And so we just sat down and did it one night. We were like, all right, let's do this. We filed our LLC at like midnight and it's actually out of Orlando. And we have onboarded clients already. We've got our workflows. We have two other teammates that are working with us, another one out of Orlando and then a guy out of Seattle. And she's a marketing strategist and he's like a technical back end guy. So, we're specifically focusing on property management websites or property manager websites because there are no vendors in the space that provide just that service. So you have your marketing agencies and you have your website developers. We don't want to develop your website. That's not what we're doing. We want to come in and implement best practices. We want to teach you how to do it because it's not as hard as it seems and then give you the reins back unless you don't want them back. We'll run it for you if you want, but we're more interested in like showing you and teaching you what the questions are that you need to be asking of the service provider that you're using now, because what we see over and over again is that all of these websites, they're template sites, they have all the same keywords. Nobody's out competing anybody because they all are the same content. And it's like, why are you paying a company anything to do that?
So you
So
you you have my endorsement simply because of the strategic move of we'll teach you how to do it and give you the reins back. That is incredible because so many companies, they get hooked on the SEO, they get pitched on the long game, which it is a long game.
mhm,
But like the 1,000+ fee a month, like perpetually, like we run tight margins in property management businesses. Like
mhm.
we've got to find these opportunities. So that is a really cool. I've not heard that maybe that's out there, but that's awesome how you're approaching that. There'll be a lot of people that
Well,
let you keep their
it's out
reins
there
though.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It's like we couldn't find anybody that specialized that did that niche. Like, and everybody that we've talked to, industry partners, they're like all about it. They're like, yes, there's a huge vacuum in this space. We are so glad that it's you doing it. So, we're kind of putting our neck out on the line there because Alex and I are both really involved with NARPM and so we don't want to fall on our faces. So it's a passion project and I think that's the best place to start from. And we know the industry better than any general marketing agency could. And even companies that say that they are specifically for property managers, until you're on this side of the fence, I don't think that you truly can service your clients well because you as an agency, you probably have several niches that you work under and we're not looking to be the biggest. We just want to be on top. And an LLM.
Upkeep Media, watch out. That's one out there. Hey, that's Matt and the
That
Unfiltered
is
Hot
one.
Takes, but that's a company that's out there. They're great though. They do good work, but
Yes, they do.
yeah, I think your perspective of just a fresh way, super hyper focused on property management, and yeah, I'm rooting for you. That's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Lacy, we're excited for you in a lot of ways. You got a lot of things going on. Thanks for taking the time to hang out with us, and
Yeah, it
really
was fun.
appreciate your authenticity, your commitment to the craft, but also some of the cool things you're doing from a technical standpoint. It's really inspiring. So, best of luck with you and Alex. He's also a verified account Orlando, so shout out him. And definitely excited to see the partnership grow. And I really just wish you the best. And thanks again.
One last thing, Dylan, if you want to get a hold of her, should we drop something in like comments, or like how can people get a hold of you specifically for like maybe just shooting the shit about property management, but also specifically your SEO business?
My email is Lacy, Lacy, at ClearLeadDigital.com.
I love it. And then we also need to put your mom's book in the show notes too. So thanks for the
The
reminder.
website is Thiafin. It's THIAFINN.com.
I like it. I like it.
Traffic's
Well,
gonna be
hopefully
off
we'll
the
get it.
charts now. All right,
Oh
I'll
yeah,
let you
that'd be
land
a
the plane now,
bestseller.
Dylan.
So no, that's perfect. That's perfect. So Lacy, thanks again. Look forward to hopefully seeing you at one of these conferences sometime soon, and we really appreciate the time.